You're listening to a Monster Kid podcast.
Why don't we rent a video tonight?
Yeah, can we please?
On a weeknight?
Yeah, come on, Mom. It's okay.
Sure. Come on. Let's throw caution to the wind.
Put a little weekend in your week. Rent a video.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Vericon Video, a show where we relive forgotten and unforgettable movies that once lined the shelves of video stores everywhere. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Jordan.
And today we have a fugitive on the loose. We'll be joining Sam Gerard and his quirky team of U.S. Marshals to do a hard target search of every gas station, residence, warehouse, farmhouse, henhouse, outhouse, and doghouse in the Cook County area for the elusive, resourceful, vascular surgeon on the run, Dr. Richard Kimble. So hurry up and get your Provasic. Provasic. So hurry up and get your Provasic prescription filled and join us for one hell of a manhunt as we do a Peter Pan right into today's episode on The Fugitive from 1993. So sit back, relax, and welcome.
Welcome to the Cafe 80s, where it's always morning in America, even in the afternoon.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. I have the only gun on board. Welcome to Con Air.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Okay, good evening, America, and welcome aboard Apollo 13.
I'm so glad you could come. This is going to be such an exciting day. I hope you're enjoying it. I think you will.
Wrongfully accused of murdering his wife, Dr. Richard Kimble escapes from the law in an attempt to find her killer and clear his name. Pursued by a team of U.S. Marshals led by Deputy Sam Gerard, Kimble leads the team through a series of intricate chases as he discovers the secrets behind his wife's death and attempts to expose the killer before it is too late. So, Jordan, what was one of the big fugitive stories you can remember unfolding during your lifetime?
There was a good one a couple of years ago, or at least like in the last decade or so, I'd say around the 2014 era. You remember the one where it was like two guys broke out of prison and were like harboring across middle America or something? And I forget most of the details, but like I think at one point one killed the other and was going on solo or something.
Vaguely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to remember a few. Then I guess the big one was O.J. Simpson.
Of course.
I remember actually in fourth grade, we were doing paper mache things, and the newspapers we were using, it was all OJ stuff, of course. And then later, the Andrew Cunanan, Gianni Versace killer thing was really big. And I think the only reason I knew about those things, I didn't watch the news at that age. I was, I guess, 10 or so. But my grandmother got all the tabloids, like the Enquirer, National Enquirer, and that sort of thing. So that's how I was exposed to all the scandal going on at the time.
Both of those were before my sentient time. But I obviously, there's enough knowledge of OJ. You know, it's one of those big major things. The Versace thing I didn't know until FX did their series on it.
Right.
But apparently it was a big enough deal because the name Cunanan came up in a John Mulaney SNL bit.
Of course
like,
it did.
It's the classic where it's like he's playing an executive on on like the reboot of the great '80s show Switcheroo, and there are all these horrifying comedy details. And he said that Andrew Cunanan played the little kid in the original show. He's like, oh, he couldn't make bail. So just little details like that. Not the only time I will mention Mulaney in this episode, for the record. Obviously.
No, I can't wait till we get to that.
Oh yeah.
So, what is your connection to or history with this movie?
This is one of those movies that would be on cable quite a bit. Not like when I was a kid, but like just in my teen years, but also just like in the last 10 years or so. And my dad would usually just be watching this because he loves this. It was probably one of those movies he saw in theaters. And I would always stick around for like either the first half would be on or like the second half would be on. It would be like I had to literally sit myself down eventually and watch the whole thing until I got like a good sense of this movie. But it always felt like one of those movies that were like just people had heard of it. It was like big at the time. It was just a lot of it was like culturally significant. And then like in the last 10 years ago, I think people have sort of maybe not forgotten, but I think it's overlooked as a major blockbuster of that era because of what people from societies now have taken from the 90s, which is odd. I don't know if you have that exact take on that.
I agree with you. I mean, I feel like it's well, I want to point this out in the next talking point here, but this was heavily parodied in the 90s. But then I feel like as we moved, I guess as we were probably 10 years removed from this film, we didn't really see a lot of this type of subgenre, really, like the whole manhunt type film, at least none that immediately come to mind. But again, like my mind is very 80s and 90s centric. And so I'm sure there have been tons of these, but I just can't think of any. I'm sure there are at least 9 with Jason Statham, but
would the Bourne movies count?
I think so.
Because
I think
if so,
count,
then I think that sort of has erased the cultural mark of The Fugitive, because people are like, oh yeah, Jason Bourne, that's who we remember.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that, the Bourne films, I mean, it's a lot more intriguing, I guess, if we're following this well-trained secret agent type as he's being pursued by people in the government or what have you.
The Fugitive, he's just a doctor with a very specific set of doctor skills who just surprisingly is good at all these.
Yes, because even though he is a doctor, that's a pretty mundane occupation, but at the same time, he's so resourceful and he does a lot of these same things that Jason Bourne would do later on. Like he's making these fake IDs and he seems very skilled at knowing how to evade his pursuers, like in the St. Patrick's Day parade that we'll get to. So, we'll be getting to that shortly. But speaking of parodies and such, I just remembered these before we started recording. You remember Bushwhacked with Daniel Stern?
That was also on cable a lot. I think they would throw that on ABC Family or like ABC or HBO Family or comedy or whatever.
Yes.
And I remember seeing snippets of it and Daniel Stern running around goofily and John Polito trying to, retain some semblance of dignity. But
and I think Anthony Heald was in that. He was the bad guy.
Post Silence of the Lambs, Anthony Heald.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Okay, so this came out in 1995, 2 years after The Fugitive. Joe Polito is the Gerard analog FBI agent in this. And he even does the whole shtick, we got a fugitive on the loose here, people.
I can imagine him saying that.
Yeah. And his sidekick, it's fucking Tom Wood, Newman from The Fugitive.
That's dedication right there.
It is. And it's so strangely meta, but Tom Wood's character in that, he's just kind of the bumbling sidekick, but it's weird. I really don't know what they were trying to accomplish by casting him in that. I guess they thought it would be funny.
I don't know what that movie was trying to accomplish.
Yeah, neither do I. I saw that in theaters, and it did play quite a bit on HBO. I do remember that. But also, one that played on HBO a lot was Wrongfully Accused with Leslie Nielsen, which came out in 98, and The Fugitive was still being parodied. Like the main narrative was The Fugitive to a T. They have the bus train crash. He's looking for a one-armed man. I think the guy's actually one-legged. Because
even better.
Yeah, because he's like an Irish assassin, because in the 90s we were really scared of Irish terrorists.
Oh, God.
Really quickly, I just remembered there's a scene where this Irish assassin with the fake leg, he's going to get a new prosthetic leg, and it has a machine gun or a sniper rifle built into it. And Sandra Bernhard is the doctor that's giving it to him. And she says, and here's the silencer. And she pulls out a shoe, a hush puppy.
Oh, my God.
But it's actually quite funny. It's really stupid, but it's very much in the vein of the Naked Gun series. And it's got a little bit of The Usual Suspects, Titanic, Mission Impossible, a few parodies thrown in for good measure.
Just one of those late 90s, let's throw it in and see what sticks to the wall kind of parodies. They did a couple of those with Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah.
So I remember, in terms of what parodying The Fugitive in that era, I remember the part 2 of Who Shot Mr. Burns, The Simpsons did. They did a full-on escape from a paddy wagon, not a paddy wagon, but like a cop car ordering from Krusty Burger, and Homer doing the full leaping out of the train sort of escape as it like sort of went on its side from The Fugitive. So clearly still ripe for parody in 97 or 96 or whenever that was.
Yeah. I had forgotten that in doing research for this film that it was nominated for Best Picture.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I mean, I really feel like it did get this reputation as, just something you would watch on cable TV passively, perhaps. Yeah. But at the time, it was very groundbreaking. And as we'll talk about, it's an exceptionally well edited film.
Oh, yeah.
And it's got a great score. I want to talk about that a little bit too. But let's move along to giving listeners a little bit of background, a little context on this movie. So this film was directed by Andrew Davis and stars Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones, supporting roles by Cilla Ward, Joe Pantoliano, Joey Pants himself, Andreas Katsoulas, and Jeroen Krabbe. The screenplay was written by David Towie and Jeb Stewart. The screenplay spent 5 years in development hell, going through 9 writers and 25 drafts. Towie does have a story credit. I believe Jeb Stewart, I had read, was on set for on-the-fly rewrites.
Oh, interesting.
And Harrison Ford was the first actor to sign on to the film in September 92 and personally agreed to work with Davis after he saw the film Under Siege. And he was very impressed with those results.
And then Richard Jordan, who was a character actor known for playing very slimy, sleazy characters in this era, from Hunt for Red October, Logan's Run, Raise the Titanic, all of those little fun things. He was originally supposed to play Charles Nichols. Filmed scenes for the role. Unfortunately, at this time, Richard Jordan was going through health issues, heart issues, I think. Those were beginning to worsen during production. He died soon after filming. Jeroen Krabbe, another actor's actor, agreed to take his place. It's funny because Richard Jordan in this era came up in the sort of theater scene alongside Raul Julia, and they were very good friends from their theater days. I wonder if Julia wasn't going through his own liver cancer problems at the time. I wonder if Jordan dropped out, if Raul Julia would have taken his place as Charles Nichols, and how cool that would have been.
Wow. Yeah, that would have been some real star power there, because Jeroen Krabbe, I'm trying to remember what else he had done up to this point.
Well, he was in The Living Daylights.
Right. He was
Koskov in that. And he was very big in the sort of Netherlands sort of film and theater scene. And he directed, I think, like 10 years after The Fugitive, he directed a film called The Discovery of Heaven, I believe, which is an adaptation of this very, also Dutch, sort of abstract, spiritualistic sort of novel. And he's very much a filmmaker's filmmaker, an actor's actor. He's very much, not exactly art housey, but he's very serious in what he does. And it's very odd seeing him in a lot of action movies and Bond movies as well. But yeah, he's very accomplished.
It's funny, as much as we're probably going to laugh at him and his character later on.
Yeah.
He does bring something to the role of Charles Nichols that I feel like, at least for me, or perhaps people that are more like us, I guess I've begun to appreciate a little bit more a performance or a take on a character that's matured a little bit, perhaps.
I don't know. I kind of like him in this. And there's specific instances I'll point out later in this that he really impresses me in.
Really great music in this film. James Newton Howard composed the score. He reportedly had a difficult time scoring the film, recalling that, quote, "The Fugitive really kicked my ass. When I was hired for it, I was terrified." And he became more despondent after listening to Jerry Goldsmith's work, which he had been using as placeholders for scenes that needed music. And Howard wasn't very confident that he could match the quality of those temporary cues, but he refused to quit, eventually conceding that his score would be a, quote, quasi-failure. He was particularly dissatisfied with his work on the chase scenes, believing that his string arrangements were too awkward. When he was given an Academy Award nomination, Howard said, quote, "I was completely shocked. I didn't think my score was worthy of a nomination, but that's what often happens. It worked and the movie was so good. It makes everybody look better." And he's become a pretty heavy hitter in terms of the working composers now. But I feel like a lot of people don't really talk about his work as much as, say, like John Williams or Danny Elfman, or didn't he do the Dark Knight films?
Yeah, he did the Dark Knight films. Dark Knight was on literally an hour before recording. Hans Zimmer did some themes, but I think that Newton Howard did a lot of it, and really impressive stuff.
Yeah.
But he has also done King Kong. He did I Am Legend. He did Split and Glass, Maleficent. He did some stuff for, Red, which is a great movie.
Yeah.
Volcano he did.
A little Tommy Lee Jones connection there.
Exactly,
Which I haven't seen that one in a long time, but that used to come on HBO a lot too.
I've never seen Volcano. I feel like I'm not missing much.
No, you're not. I believe this had come out just after Dante's Peak.
Oh, yeah, that was the Volcano year, yeah.
Yeah, the Volcano year. I feel like we get those years where we have these at least two big studio films that are very similar, like Armageddon and Deep Impact, that sort of thing. But yeah, so the studio and the producers were extremely happy with Davis's cut of the film before he edited it down to its final running time of 2 hours, 11 minutes, and told him, "It's perfect, don't touch a thing." But reportedly, Davis still made another 1,600 edits to the film for pacing, tightening up scenes that needed to be stronger. And as of 2017, The Fugitive holds the record with the most film editors nominated for the Oscar, with a total of 6 editors, whereas usually 1 or 2 are nominated.
That surprised me when I saw 6 people credited as editors. I'm like, usually that's the sign of a bad film. Like, okay, you take this. No, you take this. I'm giving this to someone else. But with some very brief exceptions, most of the editing is pretty fluid and, sort of runs together pretty well, except for the one guy who was in charge of editing flashbacks.
Right.
who just had a lot of slam edits, whoosh, whoosh, and then back to this, and then, whoosh, just very aggressively editing the movie. And thankfully, that's not the whole film, but it's big parts of it.
Yeah. It made me think of, in one of those flashbacks, I think it's whenever Kimble is in the boarding house and he's dreaming, but there's a shot of his wife, like on the other side of a door, and she says his name and the door closes real fast. It's like, it feels like that's from a totally different movie.
Yeah. So I don't know.
It's like from another type of like a supernatural thriller kind of thing.
Yeah, that's some What Lies Beneath stuff.
Yes, What Lies Beneath. Exactly. Oh, yes. So, The Fugitive premiered in the United States on August 6, 1993, and was a critical and commercial success, grossing nearly $370 million against its $44 million budget. It was the third highest grossing film of 1993 domestically, with an estimated 44 million tickets sold in the United States. It was actually the first American movie shown in Chinese theaters in over 40 years. I thought that was interesting. Audiences accustomed to local movies were blown away when they saw it, and it became a huge hit there.
Awesome.
Tommy Lee Jones, I thought this was funny, had reportedly told Joe Pantoliano, quote, "It's not like anyone's going to win any awards for this film." And it was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. And Jones won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor.
That is irony right there.
It sure is.
That's like, did he get his things mixed up? I mean, did he come to Batman and Forever expecting that everyone was going to win awards for it? That explains a lot.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I feel like it wasn't long after this that he had a kind of a lull in his career before he started to come back and do more apt roles like No Country for Old Men.
He does a movie immediately after this. He does a movie called Blue Sky, I believe, that is nominated, that gets Jessica Lange an Oscar for Best Actress. And then from 95 until around Men in Black, his career enters sort of an It's a Living phase where he just starts taking a lot of very big roles like Batman Forever and Volcano and even U.S. Marshals. Yeah. And it's not until Men in Black that he really centers himself. Men in Black is... I just rewatched Men in Black with a friend of mine who had never seen it. He loved it, and that movie holds up.
It's a great film. Like, I haven't seen it in a while, but I was obsessed with it when I was younger, when it came out. And written or co-written by Ed Solomon, who known for the Bill and Ted films.
Ed Solomon is one of the better comic screenwriters of his time.
Oh, definitely. It was followed by a 1998 spinoff, U.S. Marshals, in which Jones reprised his role as Deputy Marshal Gerard, along with some others from his Marshals team from The Fugitive.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. Again, I don't know if I'm missing much, but...
If you're a patron of the show, stay tuned. We might be doing a commentary on U.S. Marshals at some point. Jordan has not seen this film, so I'm really curious to hear what he has to say about it. We could see Robert Downey Jr. I think this was, I don't know if this was post-rehab or not, but I believe it's somewhere around that time.
It's in that gray area. It's around the time where he takes the Ally McBeal gig, and he's also just doing odd jobs, but it's 2001 where he's busted for cocaine and really tries to turn his life around. Yeah. And from then on, we actually get some dignified roles from him. And, the career renaissance we have today. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see that. Also, if you enjoyed us riffing on Batman Forever for about 5 seconds, we have a commentary up on that one. So if you want to, from our archives. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we've got both Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. So yeah, definitely go check that out over on Patreon. If you're a patron, if you're not, go to patreon.com/VericonVideo. Yeah. So Jordan, are you ready to walk through this movie?
I am ready if you are. This is definitely going to be a fun one.
I did watch this with the director's commentary, and Tommy Lee Jones is in on the recording session, but he says maybe 5 things over the course of the film. And damn. I don't know if they just edited in some of these comments, or he was just, fucking off doing something else until his scene showed up. But one of the first things that he mentions is about these titles, these opening titles. He says, these are really cool, really big titles.
Spared no expense.
Spared no expense. That's right. So we get a few of these little flashes of the killing of Mrs. Kimble, which should have been a Lois Duncan novel.
Yeah.
Get a few shots of Chicago here.
I'm always a sucker for movies where a big city, especially a non-New York or LA city, plays itself. And Chicago plays Chicago in this one. No second unit in Vancouver or anything, other than some occasional studio stuff in. Did you say in some of this was shot in North Carolina?
Yeah. The train scene and some of the stage stuff was in North Carolina.
Right. But the majority of the actual Chicago stuff is in Chicago, which score for location stuff.
We see Mrs. Kimble get murdered, and then we introduce the bloodied vascular surgeon, Dr. Richard Kimble, played by Harrison Ford. We get some real Chicago reporters here.
The thing I noticed, because this is also one of the longer credit sequences in film history, because it stops, lets the movie actually have some substantial things, and then comes back. And I think in around the 15-minute mark, we're actually done with the credits, which is odd. But as they're rolling this and as they're doing some supporting acting, I noticed L. Scott Caldwell and Daniel Roebuck have a slide together. It's very funny because for any fans of the show Lost out there, both L. Scott Caldwell and Daniel Roebuck would play passengers on Oceanic Flight 815 from Sydney to LAX. L. Scott Caldwell would play the lovable Rose, who would be sort of phased out as we got into the sort of more world-building stuff. And Daniel Roebuck would play the very ornery Dr. Leslie Arnst, or Arst, but everybody called him Arnst, who meets his end at the end of season 1, but is invited back for flashbacks because they really like working with him. It's very funny they're both in this.
Yeah, I saw the reference in the notes, and it took me a minute. Like, I'd never seen Lost, but I was vaguely familiar with the Oceanic Flight reference.
If anyone who's... it's not exactly a show that rewards you by sticking with it all 6 seasons, because the ending is sort of an anticlimax. It's very much like they wrapped up a lot of the moral end bits, but they didn't really wrap up a lot of the big mythology questions. And so a lot of the big questions about actual, what is the island or what is actually going on were left unanswered. And a lot of people don't like that, but I was actually fine with it. I'm still a big Lost diehard to this very day, 10 years later. So we get more scenes of Kimble. Harrison Ford has a thick beard for the first half of this movie. How soon in an actor's career is he willing to do a role with a gigantic beard? I mean, it took Tom Hanks about 20 years to do his, and maybe Harrison Ford is just like, okay, maybe now it's time for the beard. It's a contractual bit, 10 movies without beard, 1 movie with beard, and then you're good for the rest of your career. I think he grew it because it would be better than him growing it for the second half in disguise. So I think it was like, how about the character has a beard for the first half and then he shaves it off to go incognito. It's my bad Harrison Ford impression. But,
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
If you want a good Harrison Ford impression, there's a guy named Mike McRae. He does one of the best Harrison Ford impressions I've ever heard. There was a video that he did that went viral during the early stage of the pandemic where he did an argument between 1990s Harrison Ford and now Harrison Ford.
I think I saw that.
It was so good.
It was really good. Side note, I got down a rabbit hole of impressions on YouTube.
Right.
Like I do.
Oh, yeah. No, they're fun.
There was a guy, I feel like his name was Russ or Ross.
Russ Marquand. He's excellent.
He did this fucking Kevin Spacey impression.
Yeah.
Like to my ears. Like I would have thought it was Kevin Spacey.
Russ Marquand is one of the best up-and-coming actors / impressionists right now. I'll tell you why he's so good. 2 years ago, Avengers Infinity War, when the Red Skull reappears in that, for years, Hugo Weaving had said, I'm not doing this part again. The makeup is too bad. I'm never going to be Red Skull again. And I'm like, okay. So when they got Red Skull back in Infinity War, I'm like, oh my God, they got Hugo Weaving back. And sure enough, it's Ross Marquand doing a really good Hugo Weaving impression.
Wow.
And it's excellent. And he came back for Endgame as well. And I sent him a note on Twitter and I said, once it was revealed that it was him, and I'm like, nobody does Hugo Weaving. It's one of the hardest ones to do. I've had trouble with it. You knocked it out of the park, and you should know that. And he liked that. So Russ Marquand's excellent. He's also in The Walking Dead as a major character, not doing impressions. I think just doing some regular acting. So It's very cool to have him around.
Yeah. Let's see. So this beard thing, according to Davis, the suits at Warner Brothers were very uneasy about it. And I think it was one of those things where they said he can have a beard, but it's got to go early on in the film.
Where studios were just very anti-beard in the early 90s. Like, did a beard run off with a lot of their money or something?
Studios are so concerned with preserving a very specific image of their talent, and anything that kind of challenges or a shape set in a way that might be off-putting to some people makes them really nervous, or at least it did. And maybe not so much now, where prosthetic makeup and like that's become so much more ubiquitous, and I think there's a lot less anxiety about that now.
Yeah. No, and also I think it has to do with the fact that movie stars now are less like dashing looks and, like Harrison Ford, more like versatile people that can look like anybody. The actor's actor in 93 may have been Harrison Ford or Tom Cruise. The actor's actor now is like Joaquin Phoenix or Ryan Gosling, who, while relied on for his good looks for the first 10 years of his career, is now more of a versatile, what can we do with him kind of actor. So definitely the ideals have changed.
Yeah, so we get this flashback at the Four Seasons with the Kimbles there, and it's this fashion show / fundraiser, I'm guessing. And this guy, Lentz, is there. Now, what is his role?
He's basically a human MacGuffin.
Yeah.
He's there, and he's got a goofy face for about 5 seconds. And you're thinking about that goofy face when that name comes up for the rest of the movie. It's the equivalent of casting Gerard Depardieu in Life of Pi as the rude chef, and then losing him immediately, but then just sort of imagining him towards the end doing a lot of very rude things as the main character describes. The image of Gerard Depardieu doing those things makes sense because of what we saw the 5 seconds in that bit. What we find out about Lentz, and that he's sort of, this untrustworthy sort of Coca bottle glasses kind of guy. We just have that image as we hear about what he's done or what happened to him for the rest of the movie. Also in this bit, we get Jeroen Krabbe introduced in all of his smarm and all of his glory. And he's going to be great for the rest of the film.
Yes. And I believe Davis had mentioned that this was a reshoot, or at least the shots with Krabbe was part of their reshoots, because if you look closely, Harrison Ford's beard, it looks a little bit different.
Yes.
And he had to regrow it for the reshoot.
Oh, damn. Interesting.
Because I guess they had already shot a few of the scenes with the other guy.
With Richard Jordan. Yeah, I think that might have been it.
So we're at the police station now. Kimble's emotional decline is in progress. We get flashbacks of Kimble as a surgeon. Harrison Ford had shadowed doctors at the University of Chicago Medical Center to prepare for this role, by the way. And this interrogation scene here was originally not in the script, or actually it was just supposed to be him getting his mugshot taken. But Joe Casala, he plays one of the detectives here. He was a former cop and helped develop this line of questioning. And this other detective is played by Ron Dean, who's been in everything from The Babysitter's Club, The Client, The Dark Knight, Rudy, Eye for an Eye. He almost always plays a cop or a kingpin type.
Interesting.
But this scene is all improvised. Harrison Ford had no idea what questions he would be asked. And after seeing the scene cut together in the finished film, Ford gave Davis a kiss because he was so worried about how it would play out on screen.
Aww.
Kimble realizes that they're starting to point the finger at him. They say that, your skin was under her fingernails. She was worth a lot of money. Knowing now that this scene was improvised, it's interesting to watch this play out because it does have a very organic feel to it.
Yeah, it helps that Harrison Ford had done a movie like this before, about 3 years earlier, Presumed Innocent, which was, where, as opposed to Fugitive, where it ends up him not having done it, Presumed Innocent, he did it. And the ending reveal of, in case you haven't seen Presumed Innocent out there, spoiler alert, I'm sorry.
It's fine.
But the whole thing is the exact opposite of this one, where they're trying to make him out as someone who didn't do it when he did, whereas in Fugitive, he didn't do it when he did. Ironically, Presumed Innocent also had Raul Julia, who we mentioned earlier. But I think Harrison Ford drew upon a lot of that sort of courtroom defendant sort of angst in this, because I imagine you must have done a lot of research for that one.
Right. He's visibly shaken by the whole incident, but as they start to press him a little bit more, and we see the defensiveness that he's bringing out and saying, this was my side of the story. This man had a mechanical arm.
He had a mechanical arm.
It's like, you find this man. You find this man. It's so good. And it does bring out, I think, a very natural reaction. This is real acting here. So here's a little clip of Harrison Ford talking about his approach to playing Richard Kimble, which is very dry. He sounds so fucking tired.
So I played Richard Kimble. It was definitely a challenge for me because I never killed anybody before.
Well, I never have seen an episode of The Fugitive all the way through, so I couldn't, imitate what David Jansen had done. And so the character necessarily is different to what David Jansen did. In every case, my methodology is to create character to help tell story, because I think the alliance between character and story then is very strong and helps both the character and the story. anything that relates to the character, makeup, I tried to organize around the same idea that I have, so that we're all pulling as a team in the same direction. As well, I have an interest in the overall success of the film, and therefore I'm interested in the overall story. Tommy's a wonderful actor. He's brought a great complexity and a great deal of fun and interest to his side of the story. But we have only 2 very small scenes together, so I can't say that I've really worked with him very much. It was a pleasure to have him on the film. As I say, a great contribution. And credit goes to Andy Davis for the balance that he's achieved between these 2 sides of the story.
It was also a challenge because I wanted to punch Tommy Lee Jones in the face, but I didn't get to. Thank you. I'm going to go to the next interview now.
You nailed it. So we're in court for the sentencing of Dr. Richard Kimble. Richard Cusack is here, by the way, father of John and Joan. They say there was no forcible entry. There was nothing missing. So the detectives are testifying. We get some more flashbacks.
This is where I noticed the sort of the errant editing, because there's just a lot of smash cuts and a lot of just really intense editing stuff. And again, I just surmised this was the one really edgy editor of the 6 that are credited. It's like, I'm going to do it my way. And the other 5 are like, well, we're not associated with him. You know, we're trying to do a serious movie, and he's just doing some weird, this is his first assignment, you know, don't mention him. You know?
I think it's interesting, like how it's playing out in that we get the flashbacks, but they are done so in a way that we lead up to the reveal of Kimble actually wrestling with the one-armed man.
Right.
But up to this point, we're just getting snippets of it, but we get a lot of them, and it's a little bit annoying, but we'll give it a pass. Kimble's apartment, by the way, we see this in the flashbacks. It's modeled after that of an actual doctor that Harrison Ford and Andrew Davis met in the Chicago bar shortly before filming. Ford felt that the doctor, somewhat eccentric and reclusive, was exactly how he wanted to portray Kimble, and sent the art department to see his apartment. And reportedly, the doctor was also treated to a drink by Harrison Ford. I bet he still tells that story. Yeah, I bet he still tells that story to this day.
I had a beer with Harrison Ford once. It was great. I had an Amstel Light, and he had a water.
I had such a great apartment that they copied it. Exactly.
Why did I sell that? I live in a condo in Beverly Hills now. I could have had everything.
This doctor, this judge was an admiral in Under Siege 1 and 2. I can't remember his name, but did Andrew Davis direct the second one? Dark Territory, do you know?
Let me look right now. I can only assume it was directed by Eric Bogosian's eyebrows, but let me just check. No, it wasn't him. It was Jeff Murphy.
Okay. Right. This movie had come up previously.
Yes, we talk about Under Siege 2 a lot on this podcast.
Yes.
One of these days, we might have to cover it.
Yes. I would love that. I'd love that. Oh yeah, we were talking about Peter Green. That's what it was.
Yeah, Peter Green.
In our Patreon exclusive episode, our bonus episode on Training Day, which you should go and check out.
Yeah.
Richard Kimble was played by David Jansen in the original television series, The Fugitive, from 1963. His mother, Bernice Jansen, is an extra in the courtroom scene. You can spot her just behind Harrison Ford's head while they play the 911 call, and when he's declared guilty, she's whispering with another woman.
Yeah, she's probably saying something along the lines of, "That looks nothing like my son." They got it wrong. So. He has a bigger chin.
We get the 911 call where Mrs. Kimble says, "Richard, he's trying to kill me." Okay. To me, even back then when I first saw this, and to this day, I feel like the evidence that they've presented so far, at least that the audience has heard, does not seem like it would be enough to convict him of murder.
Well, I mean, maybe they just... I'm trying to pivot around a people in the law enforcement profession are kind of stupid kind of thesis, but maybe they saw all they needed to see and like, oh yeah, that's it. Sure. Move them along. Next case.
Yeah. I mean, it is Chicago. It's a high profile case. I'm sure they wanted to move it along. Yeah. So he's sentenced to death by lethal injection. He's moved to the Cook County Jail, which was actually shot in the basement of a grammar school. He boards the bus for transport.
Yeah, and then again, around here, the credits of the film continue and then action stop. So again, I thought that was a weird tactic they used. And This is also the point where we meet the other convicts, and what was the name of the one? The other guy.
Is it Copeland?
Copeland. I love when we introduce Copeland, and it's because the guard that has been in a bunch of other things.
Yeah, it's Richard Reilly.
Yeah, and he's character actor this time, but he's doing a roll call that is, and he's so and so here, Copeland. What? It's great. It's great. Fantastic.
Yeah, this guy plays Copeland is Eddie Bo Smith Jr., who had previously worked with Davis on Under Siege as well.
Oh man, he's just bringing back the whole cast of Under Siege as well. Steven Seagal probably had an extra role or something.
I wouldn't be surprised. But all this on the bus, this was shot for real. Like this was on a real moving bus. This is not shot against like a rear projection screen or anything. But this one inmate, he fakes a seizure. He shivs a guard, and there's a struggle. The bus goes out of control, and Richard Reilly, guard dude, blasts the guy. And the train rolls off the hill and lands by a river on the railroad tracks. And Kimble helps Copeland escape.
There's a very badly overlaid, kiss my ass, Doc, which, you got to make your audio after the fact production work a little bit more seamlessly. But okay, it's quick production.
Right. The train approaches, of course, like it does. And Kimble gets out just in time. He leaps. And this crash here is real. Ford, however, is superimposed. This was an early digital effect / optical effect.
It worked.
It worked fine. It looks like he's glowing for some reason. But these scenes were filmed in Dillsboro, North Carolina. They proved to be cheaper to use full-size locomotives at around $20,000 each rather than creating the crash scene using miniatures. As the budget was quite tight, it was impossible to rehearse this key scene, and it was a one-shot deal. Andrew Davis only had one chance to crash the train and the train scene and had to get it right, so he consulted an array of engineers, stunt doubles, and the insurance company to predict what would happen. The train was expected to crash into the bus at 35 miles per hour, but the director was in error. It came in at 42 miles per hour. Nevertheless, the scene went exactly as planned. The train, cars, and the bus are still there. They're still by the railroad tracks. And people can still walk down a hill and go see it. It's pretty spectacular. Like that. They've seen better days, of course, but the fact that they're still there is interesting.
Dedication.
Yeah. The engine used, which was not destroyed, now pulls a dinner train. During a ride on that train, props from the making of the film can be seen, including the prison bus and the shell of the engine that crashed into the bus. And Dillsboro is set next to the town of Silva, where the local hospital was used for filming the hospital scenes in the beginning of the film and the ambulance getaway, which we'll be getting to shortly. Copeland helps Kimble out. He says, just don't follow me. Kimble is injured. And Harrison Ford himself actually damaged some ligaments in his leg during the filming of the scenes in the woods, and he refused to take surgery until the end of filming, so his character would keep the limp. And you can see this limp in any subsequent scene where Kimble's running.
Yeah, that's at least kind of smart. I think it's interesting how Harrison Ford's onset injuries would just progressively get less awesome. Like, okay, 1993, he injures his leg during the train jump scene. Okay, that's cool. 2014, the Millennium Falcon door falls on him. Like, that's a little bit more pedestrian. What's next? He's gonna trip over. I don't know. He's gonna trip on a crack on the set. Indiana Jones 5 or something.
I wonder if he got bit by the motion capture stand-in for the dog in Call of the Wild.
Oh, that's what I was worried about.
Have you seen a clip of that?
No, I haven't. It just looks very Uncanny Valley.
Yeah, but there's you can see like the shot with Harrison Ford petting an actor in a motion capture suit. It's so ridiculous.
Must have been a weird day on set for him. Harrison Ford's going to pet me.
So we introduced the U.S. Marshals, the ensemble group for this movie.
From the moment he arrives on screen, Tommy Lee Jones as Sam Gerard is iconic. He is this movie. As much as Harrison Ford is the star, Tommy Lee Jones is the reason this movie is as iconic as it is to this day, or at least in the circles that it is iconic.
Absolutely. And from interviews and from listening to the commentary, he was a big collaborator on these scenes. He had worked with Davis prior to filming to rework some of the dialogue and to make it seem a little bit more spontaneous. So he was definitely dedicated to making this play out in a very realistic sort of way.
Yeah. And again, a lot of the dialogue comes off in the way that it is intended, very spontaneous, very, that doesn't feel like it's scripted. It feels like, it's just Gerard running his mouth, which works.
Yeah. Richard Reilly's character says that he doesn't think Kimble made it out, and Gerard is taking over the investigation from the Stadies, who tell him that Wyatt Earp is taking over. Oh, that's good. Wyatt Earp. Yeah, that's good. They find the shackles.
Tommy Lee Jones is just on a roll just from his reads and also from the dialogue here. Like would you like to revise your bullshit statements? And then his wry smile with, he might have got out. Yeah. Clearly the Academy got this one right. This was the era where they would reward really good performances in not so Oscar baity movies like Marissa Tomei and My Cousin Vinny, Joe Pesci and Goodfellas. And I can see why they gave him an Oscar for this one.
Just imagine, like a film like The Fugitive today would not receive an Academy Award nomination. No. Here's a little bit from Tommy Lee Jones on playing Sam Gerard.
There were some marshals who visited the set. You could watch them. You could see how they moved and talked and thought, and how they felt, what was on their mind, and from moment to moment. You could see that. I didn't, run around with them, see what their day's work was like. I didn't do very much of that. I didn't find it very useful to the film. It wasn't really difficult to see how they looked.
Did you do the stunts yourself?
Yes.
Do you enjoy doing the stunts?
No, I mean, I don't care who does a stunt. It's of no consequence to me. What I care about is the results, what it looks like on film. So I will do most of them. I'll do anything I'm capable of. And the closer the camera gets, or the bigger the lens, the more I'm going to do. But it's mainly just in the interest of good cinema.
So Kimble swipes a mechanic's jumpsuit, kind of like Michael Myers, and he heads to the hospital. We see Gerard, and he asks for a donut. What is it? A chocolate donut with all the little sprinkles on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a good donut shop pick.
Yeah. He does something similar in later in U.S. Marshals, but
cool.
We'll talk about that later. So Kimble's at the hospital. He treats his own wounds. The state police is making the rounds, passing around wanted flyers. Kimble is hiding out in Mr. Johnson's room. He's a patient there. This old man who's sleeping. And I like that Kimble is hiding out in the bathroom, I believe. And the nurse comes in and checks the patient's sippy cup, for lack of a better word. It's like, we are thirsty today.
This is one of the many scenes in the movie where it's just so tense and so just... There's suspense on whether he gets out, or there's just so many things happening where what if he's found out? And that's what the movie is so good at doing. And even in a brief scene like this where he ends up being fine and it's early, the tension is just really, really good.
Yeah. Kimble changes his clothes and he shaves his beard in the bathroom. And before he leaves, he takes the patient's food. And I've always remembered this shot because you can tell he's playing it like he's so hungry. Like he's just throwing some scrambled eggs on some toast and he's sucking his fingers while he's looking at the sleeping patient, willing him to stay asleep. It's great. But he counters the state police, this guy. Kimble's very clever. He's very smart. This is a pretty close call, too, but he's wearing a doctor's coat and he's got a mug, the egg sandwich in his hand. It's like he's got the props to blend in.
And this is where like somebody asked him, like, have you seen, I forget what the exact description, but just like, and then he just, and Harrison and Kimble just responds with, "Every time I look in the mirror, pal." Which is the kind of clever line that only Harrison Ford can nail with that sort of understated charm.
Yeah. Except for the beard, of course.
Yeah, of course.
But I do like that the cop is like, "Hey, Doc." And there's just that pause where you can see where Kimble's a little shaken, like, yeah. And he just gestures. He points and he just gestures that his fly is down. It's a very...
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah. So, yeah, he goes to an ambulance and he helps out. It's the guard from the wreck.
Oh, yeah.
And he says...
that's nice.
But he quickly puts the oxygen mask on him so he can't talk. But he's playing the compassionate doctor.
Yeah, and this is where he diagnoses completely. He's okay, he needs this, take him to this. And the guy's like, how the hell could you tell that by looking at his face? Which, it's a good window into Kimble just being a really compassionate and just like a doctor before all else. And just little pieces of his character before we get the full scope of who he is and what he has to do with the central plot later in the film.
Right. I mean, we can tell that he doesn't have any malice.
No.
Like he, even though this guard could very well say something and get him into a lot of trouble, he's quick to ignore that and make sure he gets help. saying, "Yeah, he's got a puncture in the upper gastric area or whatever." Yeah. I do like this here where we've got the crew of U.S. Marshals and they're requesting phone taps and everything, and Joey Pants is like, it's like, says he's a vascular surgeon. What the hell is that?
So good. They're all great.
They are. Yeah. Man, Joe Pantoliano, he's such a great character actor.
Fantastic. He would get so much more juicy roles after this.
Yeah.
Not only just in, The Matrix or Sopranos, but also in Bound. Bound is a great movie.
I haven't seen that one.
It's the Wachowskis before they got the clout to become, in capital letters, the Wachowskis.
Oh,
and
okay.
It's fantastic. It's also a great depiction of lesbian characters.
Okay.
Good stuff like that. And Joe Pantoliano plays a really, really, really good character that's sort of, like a loose cannon kind of type. And he's also great in The Midnight Run.
Yeah.
And Running Scared, which I'm going to mention again.
Of course.
I have to.
I was surprised, or I wasn't surprised, but I was overjoyed to see him again reprise his role in Bad Boys for Life.
Oh, yeah.
As the captain. I was like, oh, my gosh, there he is. He's got hair. But yeah, Danny Roebuck, Tom Wood, Joey Pants, they all make for this great ensemble. And the guard swears he saw Kimble, and the ambulance is missing because Kimble stole it.
They would get to the chopper, in a sense. Well, would they not? Or is that the wrong Kimble? That's John Kimble. Sorry.
That's John Kimble.
I'm the body pooper. Had to. This is a cool chase scene. This is great intercutting between Gerard in the helicopter and Kimble running. And the music is also really tense. Newton Howard does some good stuff here. It makes this chase sequence really pop for me.
Yeah, no, it's a great scene. And the editing, I mean, we'll talk about the editing quite a bit, I'm sure. But
yes.
I always remember this bit where we see Tommy Lee Jones in the helicopter and he's like, oh, get the maps out. Get the maps out.
Yeah.
It's funny. I read that for the shots of Gerard in the helicopter, the camera operator was attached somehow to the outside of the cockpit in order to get that shot.
So it's just like hanging on to the outside of the plane like James Bond or somebody?
Yeah.
It's great. They should have a movie. He should have been the movie.
He should have been.
I need you to go up in that helicopter and shoot the outside of it without falling. Yes, sir.
It was actually Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a brief cameo as the camera operator, of course. The extra of the movie shows up next here. They're in the tunnel and, the marshals are saying, everybody get out of your cars. And there's one guy that just goes, what the hell's going on here? 10 out of 10. Give him an extra pickle on his craft table sandwich.
Yeah, he worked very hard for that. You could tell.
Of course. The moment where Gerard realizes he's going down the drain is fantastic. Tommy Lee Jones is so damn good at this. This is also where we get the line, we got to go for. It's great.
It gets a laugh out of me every time. It's the Spidey sense kicking in. Like Tommy Lee Jones, like I said, like he's in on this the session for the director's commentary, but really, like whenever he shows up on screen, he just says, "I enjoy watching this." But
this is a movie I was in.
But he does make an interesting comment here about working in these drains against the darkness. He said he made sure to hold his pistol out so that it gets some backlight to keep it live in the frame. I thought that was a cool tidbit.
That's definitely the sign of a movie pro. So tense, this stuff, because anytime you get a sequence where it's shot in a lot of dark, just cavernous sort of sets, really cool. And they shot, I think, on location in these actual drains, right?
Yes, I believe that's correct. Yeah,
because I know the dam jump is on location. Even Gerard slipping and falling down the pipe is tense, for the record. Like any other director's hands, it could have been goofy, but it's not. Davis does a really good job here.
Yeah.
Kimble just pops up in the background of Gerard's shot, and they have this little showdown. And it's one of those things that even people who don't know this movie know about.
Yeah, the famous, I didn't kill my wife.
I don't care.
It's a great delivery.
So good. Fantastic.
Yeah, according to the producer, Roy Huggins, this line was originally written as, that isn't my problem, but it was changed to I don't care by Tommy Lee Jones.
Good call.
Yeah, very good call. And because it does reflects his character so much too. It seems like something his character would say.
Exactly.
Even though we haven't been with him that long, we do have a sense of his demeanor. And this exchange has probably become the most memorable singular exchange from the film.
Yes. And again, one of the big pieces of why Tommy Lee Jones gets that Oscar, of just this sort of moral pinpoint just on this line. And then we have the dam on.
Yeah.
I've always remembered the delivery that Gerard has up here. Richard, do you want to get shot? Yeah, That's great. I also love the succession of thoughts that Kimble has before he decides to jump and then just making peace with it. That's why Harrison Ford is so great. He can sort of allow us to be along with his mindset, like, not going to do it, not going to do it. Wait a minute, it's my only way out. I'm not getting arrested. I have to do it. I have to jump now. Great.
Yeah, and one thing that's worthy of note here is that the shot of Kimble is on location, but the reverse with Gerard is on a stage in North Carolina. But it's seamless.
It is. Again, sign of great direction by Andrew Davis. Of course, Kimble jumps, and Cosmo is his name, right? Cosmo comes in, and Tommy Lee Jones does the next great line. God did a Peter Pan right here off of this dam. It's great.
This shtick here with Pantaleano, this was all improvised on the spot. It's great.
A lot of the stuff with the Marshals just feels like it was like Tommy Lee Jones or Joe Pantaleano or somebody just going to Davis and saying, why don't we do this? Or why don't we just have them do this? Like this next bit where it's just Gerard, Cosmo, and Daniel Roebuck running down the stairs frantically. It just seems improvised, and it's just really goofy, and they're all just yelling things and shouting as they're coming down. It's loose. It's the sign of just a really good character crew, a really good ensemble.
Yeah, I mean, it's really good shtick, which I think is hard to pull off.
Exactly, especially in an action film.
Exactly.
So next we just have them sort of assessing things at the bottom of the dam, and Gerard's still like, go and find him, and then they're like, "Oh, he's dead. What are you, out of your mind? Oh, that'll make him be something to catch." Just nailing the delivery. I also love his exasperated, "How come you ain't turning off the water?"
Well, one thing that's, I guess, one of his trademarks that they really try to play up, especially in U.S. Marshals, and ultimately what is parodied so much, is how he's so commanding and he's telling people what to do. Like, you got to send a search team so many miles upstream, and you got to do this and that, and search party this. That has become such a Sam Gerard trademark.
Yes.
Yeah, Kimble, he's running through the forest, got that limp from the train injury.
Yes, great moments in continuity.
Yeah.
And then we have him sleeping in the woods, and the editor from the first 10 minutes is back. And we have some more weirdly timed flashbacks, and we finally have a clearer gauge of Kimble's fight with the one-armed man.
Yeah. Davis has said that Ford had a lot of input on how to stage this flashback.
Good.
And we get that. And of course, the flashback ends with the echoing, "You find that man, find that man, find that man."
Sure, hammer it home. Even getting on the plane, Tommy Lee Jones is still doling out great one-liners like, "The opera ain't over till the big dog howls," or however he puts it.
Yeah, and I'm sure that was his. Like, he come up with
has
that.
To be. You can tell which ones are scripted and which ones are Tommy Lee Jones, and that's a sign of a good actor, but also a good performance. Kimble dyes his hair black, hitches a ride, spends the night under a roof, still tailed by the feds.
Yeah, and according to Davis, some sequences were cut here. So Kimble buying the hair dye, he goes to eat at a late night diner, talks quite a bit to the waitress, and she's actually the person who picks him up to give him a ride. Davis said that he chose to lose the scenes because he didn't want the audience to ever see Kimble relax.
I like that. It's a sign of a good action movie. The Marshals tail Copeland's house. I love that Gerard and Newman disguise themselves as drunks. And Gerard literally has to tell Newman, "Okay, be drunk, Newman." like that'll help.
Yeah. I love it. And Davis had said that this is a Serbo-Croatian neighborhood that Davis actually had grown up in. And I love this hat that Gerard is wearing.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call it, but
it's a weird hat that we don't see again. And then Newman's hair is all frizzed out and
it's all Larry Fine
curled out, which we don't see again because the rest of the movie he's got his hair ponytailed behind him. So
yeah. Doesn't Gerard make a comment about his ponytail at some point?
I forget. Maybe he just calls him ponytail at one point. I honestly don't know.
Yeah. So they break in and Copeland, he's he has a hostage, but they shoot Copeland.
Post May 2020, this comes off a bit cold. Even if he is this sort of, even if he does have, I thought that it was just his girlfriend. But even if he does have a hostage, it's still like Gerard's decision to shoot him is very cold and a bit rash. And then here after this, we have the scene where we focus on Newman's trauma rather than Copeland's girl's trauma. I still thought they were it was a willing participant rather than a hostage. But it is a good dramatic scene here where Gerard is calming down Newman.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting too, after you mentioned that about how cold this feels and how it focuses more on Newman's trauma rather than the girl's trauma.
Yeah.
Is that just after Gerard shoots Copeland, the girl is hysterical and he just points to her and says, "Shut up."
Yeah.
So dismissive. It's like, not, "Are you okay?" Nothing. They just leave the house.
It doesn't come off very well post Ferguson, but
Davis has said that this moment with Gerard and Newman was one of his favorite moments in the film.
and I can see that. Like, it is a good window into Gerard's character and a good piece for later when we actually, it's one of the few fleshed out moments he has, other than just, being commanding and being, Tommy Lee Jones. And Gerard makes it clear here he doesn't bargain, even against a character we don't have many qualms about. Tommy Lee Jones rewrote the speech because he didn't like what was scripted, I hear.
Yeah, and it also establishes this mentor-mentee relationship that Gerard has with Newman that will let it come back into play in the sequel, U.S. Marshals.
Perhaps not written as strongly, but
no.
So next up here, just the tension of Kimble crossing the street in front of a cop car is good. Even that split-second tension works.
Yeah, well, he does have a lot of very brief encounters, and they're kind of quiet moments. Like the movie doesn't make a huge deal out of it, but I think as in the audience, like you said, like our ass cheeks clench a little bit because we don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
So
he calls his lawyer friend, and again, the lawyer won't abet a convicted felon, of course. I like the little exchange here. And where are you? St. Louis.
St. Louis, yeah.
And then we have the really good bit where Gerard's crew is deciphering the phone call to figure out where Kimble is. That's really good. I mean, it's been done a million times before, but that bit is masterful. Just the little cuts and well-paced bits and how they go around.
Yeah, we get that eventual, "Son of a bitch, our boy came home."
I love that.
It's great. Again, one of those things that I always think about this movie. But I do like that, like you said, like even though we've seen this a bunch of times, it's the enhance that scene. It doesn't seem quite as hokey, at least not as much as it does in the sequel with impossible video enhancement, but we'll save that for later.
Well, and then as they're heading out of this room, the quickness of, "I'll notify the press." No press, right? No press. So,
yeah, I love those really quick exchanges like that.
Yeah. Richard next goes to Charles Nichols. Joran Krabbe is here, and his very thick Dutch accent that he can't exactly scrape off has arrived.
Yeah, this was Krabbe's first day of shooting, according to Davis. And apparently, according to Davis, a very sweet guy.
Good. It's always nice when people that are known for playing villains end up being really good guys. Yeah. I always like that.
Well, I like that how Krabbe plays Nichols, at least for most of this movie. He seems very sincere and concerned. Yes. Kimble just says, "Hey, can I borrow a few bucks? Just whatever you got on you." And he seems very, very willing to help.
Exactly.
But even also a little bit surprised. Like, what the hell is Kimble doing outside of prison, outside of police custody? So I don't know. I thought that was interesting. Like, just after you've seen the film and then watching it again, knowing what we'll be getting to later, it's interesting to see how Krabbe plays Nichols here.
Yeah, and it's really good. It's the kind of thing where he wants to keep Kimble at bay because he doesn't want him to catch on the fact that, he did it. But it's also just him being that his usual charismatic self, trying to diffuse anything that could be harmful to him.
Right. Kimble rents a room in an old Polish lady's basement, I guess. We get the classic, "It's perfect."
Yeah, I mean, the scenes, we cut back to Chicago PD and then just informing all the officers, basically saying, "A bottle of scotch to whoever puts a collar on this quack." That is Chicago for you. This is why you shoot on location, so that city can flavor itself. None of that Vancouver bullshit.
Right.
It's real Chicago with sport peppers and mustard kind of filmmaking.
Yeah, that's great. And again, this actor is, I mean, he always plays the same character pretty much. And
he's good at
just it. A bottle of scotch to whoever put the color on this quack.
Yeah. And then we're back in Kimble's old hospital for the first time. And those scenes are great because there's a blend of familiarity and tension at the same time. It's good to be back, try not to get caught. And even Kimble in the prosthetics room with all the hanging artificial limbs is tense. And even going towards the back rooms, the way Davis moves the camera to build tension when he's sort of in the back where the janitor's in the background. And we sort of circle him.
Great cinematography in this film, especially in this scene. And Davis makes a good point in the commentary about Kimble's resourcefulness and how he uses the hospital as his means of tracking down the technology that led to the prosthetic belonging to the one-armed man. Like the hospital system is something that Kimble, of course, knows very well. So just him being able to go back and tap into those resources, I think, really quite smart.
Yeah. So we have a meeting up here with Gerard and Charles Nichols. And I'm surprised that this didn't clue in many audience members either. Nichols gives up Kimble's last known whereabouts the morning immediately. Like, if he's supposed to be on his side, then why doesn't he a bit more cagey? Jeroen Krabe's read of why, so he can go back to prison, is why I'm glad he got this part. I've mentioned before, I know him otherwise from Living Daylights, which I do not like, despite the fact that a very good friend of mine and other member of this podcast network is a big fan of Timothy Dalton's Bonds. I don't like the sort of one-dimensional character he plays there. He's really good at just making otherwise normal lines pop here.
And you mentioned him giving up Kimble's whereabouts. I like how, as the scene goes on, like how he plays it. He's very evasive, but seemingly very protective of Kimble. Right. And even kind of praiseworthy of Kimble's resourcefulness and how smart he is. He's smarter than you, Gerard, and seemingly very honest. So I think we, the audience, aren't very quick to question his motives.
Exactly. This montage up ahead, even that's well scored.
Yeah, I mean, I think that after watching this movie again for the podcast, like I remember this score being really great. There are some flourishes of a theme that I really like. You'll actually hear it, a little snippet of it in this recording. But it does have a very 90s sound to it. It might feel a little bit dated to contemporary listeners, but it does feel very appropriate for this type of film because it does helps to build tension with the edit and to help some of the emotional elements surface.
Right, and that's why it works so well for me.
Yeah, Kimble's doing his homework, while Gerard, we can see on his face something is a bit off, and we see Kimble making these fake IDs and eating oranges.
Yeah, of course. As one does when they're making fake IDs. And Gerard goes back to the hospital, interviews various other people that he may have worked with, and Jane Lynch is here, which is cool. Because we like her. I love her in all the Christopher Guest films, and I like that she's gotten a bit more of a contemporary name for herself. I've actually been watching her new version of The Weakest Link, because I have nostalgia for the original. How is that? She's honestly, in my opinion, better than Anne Robinson was because she has more of a charisma about herself. And she can play the sort of character of I'm all disappointed with all of you while also being very proud of them when they do win. So she's really good at it. I'm glad that she still has parts and recognition and everything after Glee. This is one of her first big film roles before all the Christopher Guest films, before I almost said A Mighty Guffman. Waiting for Guffman and A Mighty Wind. I portmanteaued those. She's wearing a bunch of pro-LGBTQ pins, including an 8 ribbon on her person, a sly way of Lynch wearing her own person's values on the character she's playing sleeves in a way that's very cool.
Yeah.
I like her going, if Kimble came to me, I would help, but he wouldn't come to me. That's not his style.
That's great. I mean, even with the previous scene with Nichols, all of the people that the Marshals are talking to are clearly in support of Kimble.
Yeah.
And also seem to know what his strengths are and how much of a challenge that it's going to be for the Marshals to actually find him.
Exactly. And so up here is another oddly edited flashback as he sleeps.
Oh, at the boarding house.
Right. And this was the weird what lies beneath flashback you referred to earlier.
Right. Yeah.
The cops show up at Kimble's new place, and it turns out it's just not for him. It's for the landlord's pervert son.
So, he says something like, we hear the cop tell the guy, like, you like stringing out young girls, huh?
Yeah, drugs.
Yeah, it's not a bad fake out, but it's very, very short.
Yeah.
Like, I wish that would have played out a little bit more. But I do like Ford's reaction here, like how he plays where he's releasing all this anxiety. He's very emotional about it. And it's just, I don't know, I think it's a great performance just in that moment. Like, again, one of those things that's very memorable that I always will latch onto for a moment if I'm watching this film.
Right. We get Kimble back in the hospital, masquerading as a janitor to clean some parts of to try and get more of who the prosthetic belongs to. I love the shot of Kimble turning the blind in the office he needs to search. That's a very cool pan.
Mm-hmm.
And then we cut back to the police station, and the creepy kid, the landlord's kid, sells out Kimble. Of course he does.
Right.
And then we get to Julianne Moore.
This was supposed to be a bigger role for her because she has fourth billing in this film.
Yeah. Maybe the studio was like, we need a woman with high screen time to bill, and we can't use Stella Ward because she's just going to die. Get Julianne Moore to do it.
Kimble was supposed to have sought her out for help and eventually fall for her, apparently. That's what I'd read. Apparently these scenes were filmed and deleted from the final cut. I don't know if that's entirely true. It's a cool sequence.
It is. I mean, first of all, I don't know if a whole love interest subplot would have fit in this movie, to be honest.
No.
Because that's honestly what she would have been used for, and it would have been a very one-dimensional part. And she has more dimensions just not being his love interest and being in these two scenes here. This is a great sequence, though. Kimble is trying to figure out when to be legendary Dr. Richard Kimble and when to lay low and with no knowledge. And so as he's wheeling this kid down, he's also making a diagnosis, which, again, it's very cool. It's a very good window into his character.
Right, yeah, because he's looking at the kid's chart and he's helping to figure out what's wrong with him. But you make a good point here about Kimble's character. Like, here he is, wanted for murder, hunted, and yet his compassionate doctorly impulse kicks in again.
Yeah, and that's honestly why he's so interesting here. We intercut with the Marshals at Kimble's boarding house, trying to figure out where he's going. Kimble correctly diagnoses the kid, puts him in the right hands. Even if he's laying low, he can still do stuff he's used to.
Yeah, he's really in it to save people. He's a very people-centric doctor, and I think it really helps us, the audience, to care about him.
Exactly. It makes him a better hero for this sort of movie. Julianne Moore smells a rat, nicks his name tag, and Kimble has to run from the hospital.
Yeah, I'm convinced that I began disliking Julianne Moore because of this move here. Like, why would you do that? Like, why would you rat him out? Because at first I thought, okay, I started to dislike her a little bit in Hannibal. But let's pause for just a second.
Yeah.
What do you think about Julianne Moore?
I have no strong feelings about her one way or the other. I think she's a talented actress. I think that she gets unlucky a lot, and she ends up in a lot of roles like Hannibal or The Lost World when she's trying to branch out and do more blockbustery stuff. But when she occasionally hits gold, it goes well for her. I'm not familiar with a lot of her huge roles, though. That's the main thing.
Yeah, she had a supporting role in The Big Lebowski.
Oh, yeah. Shit, I should have known that.
Vagina. Coitus.
I love that movie, too.
Yeah, it's great.
But, yeah, she's great in that. And she's great in Boogie Nights as well.
Yeah, Boogie Nights. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I first saw her in 9 Months with Hugh Grant, which for some reason I really liked that movie at the time, but it's terrible. I rewatched it a few years ago.
All I know is that Robin Williams shows up halfway through as the OBGYN or as the doctor or something, and he steals what he can of it.
Yeah, he's playing kind of the bumbling Russian doctor who has broken
he's Russian,
English.
even better.
Yeah, let's take a look at your Volvo.
Yes, I haven't driven one of those since 1862.
Yeah, so Gerard questions her, and she says, yeah, Kimble saved the boy's life.
With this much of her character in the final film, it's disjointed sort of view of her. We get one scene of her being critical of Richard Kimble and another scene of her saying, he saved the boy's life. We couldn't do this without him. This is what's left in the edit. We don't have a really consistent view of who this person is and what her want is. It does let Gerard know there is some decency in Kimble, which is why the scene was left in the final cut. But it also robs Julianne Moore's character of any sort of character, really.
Yeah, I mean, she's only in it for a couple of minutes at most. And so we really don't, I mean, now we recognize who she is. But yeah, if this is just remnants from the scene that they had subsequently cut, then we're not really left with much.
Exactly. We have some intercutting here as Kimble tries to narrow down which one-armed man is him one-armed man. We have Gerard and Company also figuring it out. Gerard and Company also sounds like a good name for a 70s rock band. Gerard and Company.
Gerard and Company. If U.S. Marshals had been such a letdown, I mean, like Tommy Lee Jones, like what's he doing now? Like this would be a good time for him to have a limited series. Just call it Gerard.
Yeah.
You know, we could do the Picard thing and just have an aged Samuel Gerard. He's retired and he has to come out of retirement for something.
I want to say Tommy Lee Jones just did a movie with De Niro. I want to say he did. I feel like he did. No, his movie with De Niro was several years ago. Oh, yes, it is. He just did a movie. Yes, I was right. He just did a movie called The Comeback Trail with it's De Niro, Morgan Freeman, and Tommy Lee Jones and Zach Braff.
Oh, okay.
Also, Nick Vallelonga is in it, so I will not be watching. Thank you very much. I'm still mad at him about Green Book.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I will not be giving him any money.
See, this is where Kimble gets on the elevator.
Right. That's a great one. He gets on the elevator along with several cops. It's a prequel to Captain America, Winter Soldier. The tension grows as Gerard and the gang head into the station as Kimble gets out of the elevator. This is the whole Hinky scene with Daniel Roebuck. Not only well written and fun, but a good way to keep Gerard's character fleshed out and being sort of averse to the sort of fraternal kind of jokey Pantoliano and Roebuck sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kimble is onto something at the prison. Some of them might be the one-armed man. It's the wrong guy, so all this tension for absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I do like that they try to set up that Kimble has made himself vulnerable and exposed, but really to no avail here. But I do like that the wrong guy there on the other side of the partition.
Right.
It's like, well, hey man, you brought me down here. Might as well talk about something.
Yeah, it's a good detail. And then we get this other really good tense moment where Kimble and Gerard are in the same stairwell, bound across at any moment. And then Gerard sees Kimble from behind, from like across the way. And it's a well shot turnaround. And now the chase is on, and that's awesome.
Yeah. This is where he's trying to get out the front door, right?
Yeah, and Kimble gets to the gate first, alerts the police officers. There's someone running and screaming, and a woman. Which I throw in a woman. There was no woman there. There's barely any in this movie. Oh, that works somehow.
Yeah, I do love that. There's someone running and screaming, and a woman.
That was a Norm Macdonald line you just did.
Yeah.
Someone running and screaming. A woman. Crack whore.
Okay. Yeah. There's a woman. Yeah. Yeah.
You guessed it, Frank Stallone. Gerard gets the whole team to get to him. There's a tense showdown as he shoots the glass. That's really good. And now we get into the St. Patrick's Day parade, which is an actual St. Patrick's Day parade that the film crew managed to sneak into, as Ford manages to sneak into without some actual passerby guy going, "Hey, that's Harrison Ford."
Yeah, this was all shot with a handheld Steadicam, and they didn't rehearse anything. Ford and Jones just went out into the crowd and did their thing, just with camera operators running around trying to keep up.
Yeah, it's a lightning in the bottle kind of strategy that really pays off.
It's one of those things too, like where you get this really great set piece that they didn't have to pay for. But again, like I said earlier, Kimble is clever enough to make himself these fake IDs and think to nab this green derby out of the trash and shed his coat.
I think it's just some of his doctor DNA sort of being spread into other aspects. Like, okay, if I'm a good doctor, if I'm very good at noticing things, then I might as well notice all of these things and decipher them like it's an operation.
Yeah, very quick to adapt.
Yeah, exactly. This whole sequence is also shot really well. And as the bits, like the shot of Gerard looking in between the carriages, that's a cool one. And the shot of Kimble casually leaving the parade as he's only a few paces behind Gerard, who hasn't noticed yet.
Yeah, he's playing it very cool.
It's only like a couple minutes of screen time, but it's really cool. And I'm glad they were able to do that.
Yeah. I feel like I pitched this to you sometime in March because I thought, this would be a good one to do for St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, what happened was that this was on cable, and I watched pretty much the whole thing, and I was wowed by this St. Patrick's Day scene. And I must have logged in on Letterboxd, and then you must have sent me a message like, "Hey, that just reminded me, we need to do The Fugitive. You got me thinking." And I'm like, "Yeah."
That's right. I believe you're right.
Sure enough, here it is.
Yeah.
So the press is being briefed again. The chief of police still thinks that Kimble did it because something policemen aren't very receptive. Kimble now has a sharp jacket, and the one detail that I think is realistic but interesting is at this point in the movie, Kimble's black dye has worn off and is now its usual brown and gray.
Just for Men should have heard about this. I mean,
exactly. I mean, they should be releasing a tie-in brand just for Ford. And
just for Ford.
If I need hair dye for a movie, I might as well go with this. It's just for Ford.
It's affordable.
Hey!
Hey!
All right. So he's breaking into Sykes's place in this next bit, right? This is all really well done and well toned, and sure enough, it is the guy. And he's in some vacation photos with Lentz. And the name Devlin McGregor is introduced, and we're getting the seeds for the eventual exposition dump we're waiting for. In another flashback, we hear about the RDU-90 drug Provasic. Ding, ding, ding. Drug of the future, boys. Clean out those arteries. It could put us out of business. And that right there sets up the whole rest of the movie.
Yeah, Kimble calls in. Yeah, Gerard gets...
someone claiming to be Kimble. So he doesn't
right, someone claiming to be Kimble, and he's like, He's like, shut up.
Yeah, once he realizes it's him, and that his mood changes immediately, and he's just trying to stall him, just so they can trace the call. That's great. And then Kimble makes Gerard think he hung up, and then gives him the location of the one-armed man, and it's pretty genius.
Yeah. Again, Kimble is very sharp-witted here.
Yeah. By the way, the one shot of the cars parked on the Chicago streets outside of Sykes's place, or not even outside of Sykes's place, nearby, I got a very Home Alone vibe from that neighborhood. Not even like the first two, like a Home Alone 3 vibe. Like they must have used that part of town when they shot that. I don't know why, because this is another controversial opinion I have. I don't think Home Alone 3 is that bad. But it's definitely some Chicago suburbs that have been in some movie at some point, because there are only so many suburbs to shoot.
Yeah, I vaguely remember the shot you're talking about, but I do agree with you. I think Home Alone 3, I don't think it's a great movie, but I don't think it's as bad as other people say. Only because you have to look at it as a different film. Like I feel like you can't look at it as being like a direct sequel to the previous two, because you're going to be disappointed. It's an entirely new story with a new set of villains.
It's the Halloween 3 of John Hughes movies.
Yeah.
Even to the point where now there's beginning to be a following for it.
Yeah.
Although the difference is Halloween 3 might be a little bit better than Halloween 3.
You know, I still haven't seen Halloween 3.
It's pretty good. It's definitely a different genre, a different subgenre of horror than the first, or than a lot of the Halloween movies. It's more of a supernatural kind of horror.
I've been doing the Bride of Monster Kid marathon.
Oh yeah, I see that on social media all the time.
Yeah, so we got a new some spooky movie for the month of October. Yeah, so this is the one I'm watching on Halloween night. So.
Awesome. That's got to be cool. And that's a perfect one for the night of. I mean, because I'm not as, I didn't grow up as into horror movies as I may come off. My first time watching the original Halloween was with Jack on Halloween night, during college. And that was really cool.
Okay, I know a lot of people have been watching their favorite horror movies this month, but I've got a few peppered throughout, but most of them are horror films that I've not seen, but should have seen. Yeah.
Expanding your repertoire.
Yeah, exactly.
Meanwhile, I'm just going to keep recommending Overlord to everyone I talk to who wants horror movie recommendations.
Yeah, that one's still on my list. So
see it. It's so good.
Okay. I'll watch it. I'll move it up to my short list.
If you love John Carpenter-y kind of horror, it's very similar to something like that.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, this movie. The Marshals are in Sykes' place as he comes home. Sykes looks like Abe Vigoda and Martin Landau's offspring.
Yes, he does. By the way, Abe Vigoda is actually dead now. I checked.
Aw, spoiled fish. Thank you. He sleeps with the fishes. I thank you.
I remember there was a clip. It was some award show or something where someone on stage makes a joke about Abe Vigoda and it cuts to him and he clearly wasn't listening or just couldn't hear the joke, and everyone starts laughing, and he just has this expression. He smiles a little bit, but he's looking around, searching, like, why is everybody laughing at me?
What happened? Poor guy. Great actor, though. Sykes says he's Devlin McGregor's security man. As good as his alibi is, Gerard trips him up a little bit.
Yeah, and he's not even a good liar, at least not in the way that Nichols is.
Yeah.
He's got that down, yeah.
I mean, Sykes is the muscle. He's good at, of course I'm a good liar. Get out. Nichols at least is good at least with person skills, person to person sort of stuff. So
yeah, he's like, I got a prosthetic arm. I must have killed his wife, right? Come on.
Yeah, it has to be me. It is. Come in with us. So, Kimble calls Charles Nichols. Kimble has figured it out. Devlin McGregor and Lentz did it. However, Lentz died in a car accident last summer.
Accident, eh? You don't say.
Yeah, sure. I'm surprised Nichols didn't slip. You're wrong. Lentz died in a car accident last summer. I saw to it myself. I mean, I mean nothing. I love the contrast up here because we see Nichols at a banquet and Nichols saying to a colleague, "Hey, how are you doing?" And then Gerard matching going, "Dr. Nichols, hi."
Dr. Nichols, hi.
It's great.
It's great.
This scene by Crabbe and Jones is so well done. The best reads are made out of very simple lines. Nichols says he's never seen Lentz before. Something is up, clearly.
I like that the way Gerard plays it is that he's suspicious, but he plays it in a charming sort of way. Like he knows that he's getting under Nichols' skin.
Yes.
Like
that's
he's,
great.
he's just a thorn in his side. Yeah.
We have some other scenes that foreshadow other scenes. Montage this thing. Gerard says that McGregor made $7.5 million. Sykes gets a call. Sykes escapes in a fire decoy to fool the cops. Kimble does some research on livers. Kimble finally goes to see Jane Lynch. Amazing. Turns out all the samples came from the same liver. Kath viewed beauty. Half the samples he approved were signed the day that Lance died. The plot thickens again. Kimble seems to figure out the entire thing here.
Yeah.
And then back with the Marshals, Newman says the release was approved by Charles Nichols, who also knew Lance.
And you can tell that Newman is so delighted to be the one to deliver the news to Gerard.
Yeah.
Dr.
Again,
Charles Nichols.
all the little Marshals characters are really cool in their own special ways.
This is a great scene here.
Yeah, no, Sykes follows Kimble, follows him up to the subway, all shot on location at the L. Shot of the guy on the subway pointing out Kimble to the cop, undercut by Sykes entering the shot, is so good.
Yeah, this is a great shot, but it feels like this move is a little sloppy on Sykes' part. Like, how is he going to get away with murdering Kimble on the subway?
And that's the main thing. Sykes is a very impulsive sort of villain.
Yeah.
He doesn't think a lot of his plots through.
And it feels like a scene from like The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3 or something. Because Sykes has that trench coat on.
Yes, like Robert Shaw, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great movie, by the way.
It is. It's a very good movie. I watched it after watching the remake. And
the remake's pretty good.
Yeah, the remake's fine. I mean, John Travolta is just fucking insane in that movie. He's like Nicolas Cage level in that movie.
Maybe the face-off surgery was pretty permanent. Don't know.
His face off.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this cop, he spots Kimble.
Yeah.
And Sykes shoots him. What happens? Sykes, he shoots.
He shoots towards the cop.
Right.
I think. Which is, again, very impulsive. And then Kimble pulls the brake and grapples with Sykes as the sort of lights go in and out. I love this whole sequence. It's very well scored. It's well done. Kimble knocks Sykes out, handcuffs him to the railing, and because this is the 90s and he has to have a little line here, he goes, "You've missed your stop." Which is like the sequel to Get Off My Plane.
Yeah, it's the 90s, like you said. We got to have those little zingers in there.
Yeah. And now it feels like Act 3. Kimble shoves the guns through the mailbox slot. Everyone starts heading to the Hilton. Gerard goes, "Arrest us," the detectives as they head in, trying to keep them out.
Yeah, and then this is the great ballroom scene.
Oh, yes, it is. This is the scene that John Mulaney talks about in Comeback Kid in his special, where he talks about, because this is the place where he and his folks went to a banquet to support Bill Clinton. And he tries to rationalizes the audience by saying it was the one from the Fugitive, and he ends up doing a full-on explanation of the plot of The Fugitive in order to really, really hammer home the rationalization, going so far as to explain pretty much the exact contents of one of the scenes. Yeah, and it's so funny. It's something that I think of every time I see this movie and this scene.
Yeah, ever since you told me about it, like I figured I had to watch it or listen to it. And yeah, you're right. It's so specific and detailed.
Yes.
And
that's so Mulaney, too.
We'll throw in a little clip here.
We walked into the ballroom. It was a big hotel ballroom. It was the Palmer House Hilton, big Hilton hotel ballroom. Walked into the ballroom. It was packed with people. It's actually, it's the ballroom from the end of the movie The Fugitive. Remember? So, that ballroom. So, my mom and I walk in. It's packed with people. The end where Harrison Ford as Dr. Richard Kimble bursts in to confront Dr. Charles Nichols, right? Okay, so that ballroom. So my mom and I walk in. It's packed with people. Why does Kimble confront Nichols? Well, I know we all know this, but Kimble, he found out that Nichols, along with Devlin McGregor and Lentz, who's mysteriously died, they had hired Frederick Sykes, the one-armed man, to kill Kimble. Kimble's wife wasn't even the target. I know we all know this, but they were going to kill Kimble because he wasn't going to approve certain liver samples to pass RUD-90. So Kimble finds out about all of this, and of course he's furious. And he bursts in the ballroom and he goes, "You switched the samples!" And Dr. Nichols is like, "Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, Dr. Richard Kimble." What accent did that guy have, by the way? He goes, "You switched the samples and you doctored your research so that you could have Provasic." Anyway, so it's that ballroom. So we walk into that ballroom. It was packed with people.
Yeah, Krabe as Nichols, he becomes very nervous once Kimble enters here. Yeah, he's slow walking towards Nichols in this giant ballroom full of people. Yeah. But I think what's interesting is how Krabe plays this scene. It's always stuck with me. Like, yeah, he's nervous, but he doesn't make much of an effort to ignore Kimble at first anyway. Or at least for me, like, it's when he starts laughing.
Yes.
Like he's just chuckling. It's nervous laughter, but he's also intentionally or not making this confrontation very central to what's happening in the ballroom. And I guess just perhaps he can't ignore it anymore.
Exactly.
And he's trying to diffuse it.
It's the performance beginning to crack of the innocent. But yeah, we get this sort of scene that Mulaney parodies where the Krabe is like, this is Dr. Richard Kimble. And then Mulaney even saying, what accent was that? Which is great. And then, of course, Ford has, his whole line. They switched the samples, didn't you? You doctored your research so you could have Provasic. I love how much force he puts into that word. Oh, my God.
Let's hear the scene.
Please.
Whatsoever. It is also noteworthy that this drug was developed in cooperation, not competition, with the Chicago Memorial Hospital in what we hope will be the model for continued honest, open joint ventures between academic medicine and pharmaceutical industry. Richard, I'm sorry, I'm in the middle of this speech.
You almost got away with it, didn't you? I know all about it. I can prove it.
Ladies and gentlemen, my friend Richard Kimble doesn't feel well, obviously, so if you just go on with your dessert and coffee, Richard, do you mind to step aside and let's talk? Okay. So, I'll be back in just a second.
You changed the samples, didn't you, huh? You switched the samples after Lentz died.
Let's stay calm, people.
After Lentz died, you were the only one who had the access. You switched the samples and the pathology reports. Did you kill Lentz too, huh?
Can we get some security in here, please?
Did you? He falsified his research so that our DU-90 could be approved and Devlin McGregor could give you Provasic.
All right, it's all over, folks.
I love that when Kimble reaches out to touch Nichols and he violently brushes him away and scowls at him and the crowd goes, ooh. That's some Jerry Springer shit, and I love it.
Just a little over dramatic.
A little bit.
So they exit to a different room, and because Nichols gets out and Kimble follows him because they're probably going to have a very calm confrontation about the whole thing. And Nichols' way of confronting Kimble and confirming his suspicions is by calmly hitting him over the head with a chair. And this is our climactic battle here between Kimble and Nichols, and they go up to the roof, and Kimble is very specifically going, "Why, Helen?" And Nichols doesn't answer, which is an odd move by the movie.
I was going to ask you about that. Like, they never really explain that, do they?
Yeah, maybe it's the kind of thing where they never needed an explanation if they over-explained it. Because they allude earlier that Kimble is sort of the odd person out in the sort of realm of doctors that are doing these sort of illegal things with Provasic.
Right.
Taking these vacations. Because they say that Kimble is the only person that doesn't go on these vacations with all these doctors and all these other people. And
yeah, so this is, I guess, just a way for them to get Kimble out of the picture. So frame him for murder.
The Guild of Eagle Doctors just wants to take out Kimble.
I mean, it's a very extreme way to discredit him, but yeah, I mean, yeah, go movie.
Exactly. The Chicago PD here gets a helicopter against Gerard's orders. Why exactly? Because Gerard yells, "Because I don't want to get shot," which is great. Nichols and Kimble crash through a bay window and onto an elevator where they go to the 5th floor, the laundry floor. The shot of Kimble's arm blocking the elevator door suddenly is so well timed and well scored.
Yeah. Gerard and Cosmo, they join in.
They're just looking for each other throughout this sort of laundry wing. And it's this really tense thing where all 4 of them, I don't know if all 4 of them have guns, but they're all searching for someone. Like Gerard and Cosmo are looking for Kimble. Kimble's looking for Nichols. Nichols is looking for Kimble. It's this whole very tense, well-scored and well-shot chase. And Gerard starts yelling for him to come out. And then suddenly, Richard, I know you're innocent, he says, which changes the whole thing.
Yeah, gives Kimble pause, yeah.
Once he says he knows about Nichols, we cut to a very nervous, beaten down, intimidating Nichols appearing out of shot behind Cosmo, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's very cool. I believe in the original script, the bar that knocks out Cosmo was supposed to kill him in the original script.
Yeah, I'd read that as well because Joe Pantoliano wanted his character to live, right?
Yes, exactly. And he got his wish, which is great. And he got a sequel out of the deal.
Yeah.
And then I love that the big moment happens right when Gerard yells, it's time to stop running. That's great. And then, Nichols aims. Kimble hits him with a tire iron, knocking him out. Gerard sees Kimble coming and slowly lowers his gun. And then they killed my wife. I know it, Richard. I know it. But it's over now. I'm glad. I need the rest.
I love it. I love that
So
bit.
good.
Love that
Ace
exchange.
deliveries from two great actors. I love that.
Like they don't share the screen a whole lot in this film, but whenever they have these exchanges, it's magic. Like you said, just ace deliveries from two great actors.
So good. So we finally bring them out of the hotel. The reporters outside. One of the reporters outside is current NBC News anchor Lester Holt, who started up in Chicago and has a lot more hair than he does now and a mustache.
Yeah.
So that's cool. We see Cosmo being wheeled out in a stretcher, and he has an overdubbed sort of epilogue of saying, "Tell Samuel Gerard I'm going home now. I'm taking my vacation."
Yeah, in a way that only Joey Pants can deliver it.
And finally, Kimble exits with the Marshals in handcuffs in front of a frenzied crowd. Once they get into the actual police van to head them off, Gerard uncuffs Kimble, and then our final exchange is before going, I thought you said you didn't care. I don't. Don't tell anybody, okay? And we pull away.
Yeah, I mean, again, like this is just a bit of brilliant writing. Like they took a great resonant line from their first meeting and brought it back here. It's like Kimble hasn't forgotten it, and neither have we. It's the audience.
But it's also just a really good line reading of just, I don't.
Yeah.
Just inward a little. It's great.
Yeah. Again, it reflects Gerard's character to a T. Like we really, I think up to this point, like we know when the words coming out of his mouth sound right, sound authentic. And in this case, it's like, yeah, this is like something Samuel Gerard would say.
Right. Such a good ending. I really like. That's what brings us out.
Yeah. Wow. So that's The Fugitive.
Yes, it is.
Oh, that was so fun.
Yes.
What final thoughts do you have?
My final thought is that more people should know about this movie even 27 years later. It's an incredible movie. It's one of the best examples of a good 90s blockbuster without feeling too stupid or too streamlined. It has some great performances, some great writing, some great work from Andrew Davis, and it's definitely a touchstone of this era of action, star-based, good, intense movies. And I wish that sort of cavern of movies would come back.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, this is one that I didn't revisit until just a few years ago, but I think watching it again a few times since, I've come to, one, look at it as a cultural moment in 90s action film because, so this came out in 93, so just a few action movies that came out that year. Demolition Man, The Last Action Hero, Cliffhanger, Point of No Return, Hard Target, Boiling Point, RoboCop 3. It's different from all of those in that it's not like high concept action adventure. This is much more of a very tight action thriller that has it's very tightly paced. It only has a few lulls in it that I think maybe towards the end of the second act.
Yeah, slight.
Not much, but it keeps moving. It doesn't give you a lot of time to breathe. It keeps you running with this film. I think it's still great. It's fantastic. We got some great performances here. A great ensemble with the U.S. Marshals. It's definitely one to go back and revisit if you haven't seen it in a while. And if you've never seen it, hopefully you've seen it because you're listening to this episode. We've just spoiled it all for you. Dr. Nichols did it. But yeah, this is a great film, a hallmark of 90s action. Yeah, go check it out.
And now, coming soon to video cassette.
So next time, what are we going to be talking about, Jordan?
We finally get to talk about a Raul Julia movie. I'm not even going to mince words. This is one of my favorite movies to talk about, period. This is a nice little, because we're finally getting into our October spooky type movies, and this is going to be an episode on The Addams Family from 1991, and a discussion on why all of you who love Addams Family values are sleeping on this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is one that I rewatched within the past year, and I loved this movie growing up. And I watched it a bunch. I got the VHS from McDonald's, if you can believe that, whenever you could get those as a little bonus. Yeah, this one's a lot of fun. Yeah, if you are part of the camp that holds true that Addams Family Values is a better film, I encourage you to stick with us and join us as we talk about the Addams Family, because going back to the beginning here, we're going to have a lot of fun.
I can't even begin to fathom how much fun that's going to be to talk about.
We're going to be doing some great impressions, I know.
Oh, yes. Just wait, my Raul Julia impression is in the shop, ready to be tested out.
Yeah, I gotta polish up my Dan Hedaya and
they go to the balloons.
and some Christopher Lloyd, man. Christopher Lloyd's a lot of fun to do.
Clue was on earlier today, so I had my Christopher Lloyd fix.
It's you or me, honey bunch. That's a great one. It is that glorious time where we give thanks to our patron saints over on Patreon. Lewis, Mike, Jack, Mondo, Ryan M, Ryan S, Jacob and Tab from Test Pattern, Pete, Rich and Naomi from Bloody in Love, and Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you all so very much for supporting the show. You're helping us keep doing what we love doing, and we're very grateful. If you're not a patron but are interested in becoming one, head over to patreon.com/VericonVideo for more information about all the great perks you can get for just $2 a month, such as bonus episodes not available on our main feed, commentaries, and a super cool gift pack with Vericon Video merch and some other related oddities. That's all for today, but we'll be seeing you real soon right back here at Vericon Video. So long, everybody.
Good night, and don't miss your stop.
Remember to rate and review the show on iTunes. If you have questions, send them an email at vericonvideo@gmail.com or call the Vericon Video hotline at 312-620-5560. They are also on Twitter and Instagram at Vericon Video. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for another exciting movie from the rental era.
Goodbye, Vietnam! That's right. I'm history. I'm out of here. I got the lucky ticket home, baby.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Jenny.
Bye-bye, boys.
Have fun storming the castle. Bye-bye.
Do take good care of yourself.
What is this, your farewell speech? Going home. Have a good trip.
Hasta la vista, baby. I have to go.
Adieu, auf Wiedersehen, Gesundheit.
Farewell.